There's a bittersweet cider apple called Harry Masters Jersey. Harry Masters named it after himself. This comes from Somerset. This particular apple tree I'm very pleased with because there was a variety growing here called Crimson King, which I just did not get on with. It rotted most years and didn't give a very good fruit. But I grafted it over 3 years ago. I put multiple grafts into this tree and 7 others in this row, and 3 years later it's yielding a very good crop. It's a lot of fruit on the ground. We don't mind that because you know, that's what you do with cider fruit. You let it fall, usually maybe shake the tree, pick it up, wash it, crush it, ferment it, and that's how you get proper cider. The vogue for making single variety ciders, or hard ciders I should say for our friends in America, single varieties, well, I mean, they may be okay, but most of the experts think that you'll get a better result from using a blend. So we tend to blend our Harry Masters with our Lebrettes and other apple varieties such as Dabinet. And in fact, most of the Dabinet apples have in fact already been picked up. Some of them have been used already. Some of them have been stacked. I've made the main bulk of cider, just about 120 litres this year of ordinary cider, and I've very selectively picked over the very best fruit. And I've stacked it here in the orchard to let the weather get to it for a few weeks until the apples begin to become a bit soft, and then I will grind them during this time. They're out in the orchard in these slatted boxes. They'll be evaporating a little bit, particularly on sunny days. Okay, the birds might peck a few of them, but yeah, I can live with that. Of course, the more the water evaporates out of them, the more the flavour and the sugar will be concentrated, so they'll make a more characterful hard cider. I'll probably press these in about 2 weeks, but I'll be keeping an eye on them. That's mainly Harry Masters Jersey, and that's mainly Dabinet. And further down a Kingston Black and Lebrette and Yarlington Mill. One more tree I must just have a look at, and that's Yarlington Mill. This has got a reputation for being a bit biennial. Let's give a big crop one year and nothing the next. But it's not always as bad as that. I think that the Yarlington Mill, in my experience, will give a good crop. Probably 7 years out of 10. And even in the off years, you'll often get something. When I say a good crop, this is sort of what I'm talking about. And sort of final comment on making cider, obviously you mustn't drink too much alcohol, it's not good for you, but a little bit of alcohol in moderation is very nice. And you may as well think about carbon footprint in these days coming on the earth. You may as well think about carbon footprint and energy that goes into it. Now, if I'm growing these apples here in southern Hampshire, England, you better believe me when I tell you that there is not a great deal of energy being consumed. There's a lot of carbon being taken up out of the atmosphere. Okay, so we finally, when the apples are ripe, we wash them, we crush them, and we do use a little bit of energy to crush them. And then the apples, having been turned into pulp, are then pressed. I put some videos up about this last year, I'm not going to do that again. The pressing is done by hand, so it uses a bit of my energy, which does me some good, get a bit of exercise, which I need, and then that's it. That you then just ferment it, and it doesn't travel very far, not least because we consume quite a lot of it here in the orchard, personally, and when we have our friends round. For example, our midwinter wassail. There's a few just falling off. Fine, here we are. Right in the tree, it's a great big tree, it's absolutely full of fruit. And the question I have to ask myself is, why do people in England go to such an extreme effort, struggling against nature, to try to produce wine when we really can't produce very good wine in England. Credit and respect to the people who try their best, but they have to use pretty dull, pretty excessively acidic and not very well flavoured grape varieties. You can't produce a wine in southern England anywhere near as good as the wine you produce 150 miles south of here in France, and not anywhere near as good as the wine you can produce in the south of France or Spain. So why make poor wine when you can make great cider?